Hi there, welcome to Kneppy Invests. We are at the end of 2023, and that means I have to go through my Kneppy predictions for the year. And I've titled this 23 Crappy Predictions because when you are ever making a prediction about the future, more than likely those predictions are going to be wrong. And even if they're right, the timing can be completely out. Now, every year I watch The Big Short. A few reasons why I watch The Big Short every single year. And even though, like, Michael Burry was right, his timing was out by a little bit. And I have seen that with my own investing time and time again. I can be right about something, but it's just my timing. And that's probably the most important thing. Some people say you can't time the market. I believe that's a little bit wrong, but it is hard to time certain thematics. For instance, I was bullish on uranium about 2 or 3 years before uranium prices started to rise. I've been bullish on lithium twice, and I was out by a few years. Bullish on iron ore, and I was out by a few years on that as well. Bullish on gold, it's happened the same with that as well. Bullish on certain companies, and then I just see the share price go sideways, and then all of a sudden, a few years later, share price starts going up. So I always look at any predictions with a grain of salt, and more with the understanding that more than likely those predictions are going to be wrong. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there who hear any sort of prediction, economic forecast, and use that to make decisions. And a perfect example of that is when Phil Lowe, the Reserve Bank guy, said he doesn't think, or they don't think, interest rates won't rise until 2024, or maybe it was 2025. But that was on the basis of inflation remaining low. Inflation then started to rise, so they had to change their view on interest rates. But a lot of people took the very fact that he said, he didn't say it completely like that. He actually said, if I remember correctly, if those economic conditions or economic factors remain where they are now, interest rates won't rise to 2025. And those economic conditions, economic factors, indicators did not remain where they were. Inflation. But people went out and took massive loans, bought a few houses, and they are now suffering right now. And they're blaming the Reserve Bank. They're blaming Phil Lowe. That's his name, wasn't it? Already forgotten his name. Anyway, so this whole exercise is for fun. Making predictions about the future is hard. In my professional job, I am making forecasts that are only 30 hours in advance. And even then, we can be wrong, sometimes significantly wrong, even 30 hours in advance. Anyway, so let's have a look at my 2023 crappy predictions, always starting with interest rates. So I said interest rates by the end of this year. Now, I'm recording this video on the December the 26th, Boxing Day. So there is potential that some of these might change, not interest rates. So interest rates right now are 4.35%. So interest rates did go up a little bit more than I did think would. But interest rates have been much volatile in the past year. But at least this was way more accurate than last year. I said interest rates would be, I think it was 0.5%, and they finished at 3% or something like that. So a little bit off when it comes to interest rates. Now on to inflation. So I said inflation will be 4.8%. Now, I'm a little bit more correct here. Now, it depends what you look at. Now, the last quarterly inflation was CPI was 5.4%. But they do release, the Bureau of Statistics releases a CPI monthly indicator, and that was released after the quarterly number, and that is at 4.9%. So inflation is coming down, and it is towards what I thought it would be at 4.8%. Now on to GDP growth. I said 0.4%. I realized, what period am I looking at? Is this for the whole year or is this for a quarter? I can't remember if I specified if this was for the whole year or just for the quarter, because GDP growth is significantly different. For instance, 2.1% for the year, but only 0.2% for the last quarter. And interestingly enough, if you look at GDP per capita, we're in a recession because it is negative, and it's been negative for the last 2 quarters. In fact, it's been negative for the last year, GDP per capita. So this is one of the reasons why the government wanted to increase immigration, because they didn't want us to go into recession. Now, that's me being a little bit cynical, and I do believe that's one of the reasons why they really ramped up immigration, because they were fearful of us going into recession. And one way for us to not go into recession is to increase immigration. So if you look at GDP per capita, down 0.3% for the year, and in the last quarter, negative 0.5%, and it's been negative the last 2 quarters. So not technically, on an individual basis, Australia is in a recession. The country as a whole is not in a recession, but individually we are in a recession. And I believe we should be looking at the GDP per capita to determine whether we're in a recession. Now onto the XJO. I thought we're going to have a good year. I thought it was going to be up over 10%. We finished last year at 7,038.7, and right now we're at 7,501.6. There is potential, because this is not including the last 3 trading days of the year. If we see the XGO rally 310 points, which more than likely is not going to happen, this could be accurate. But more than likely, I was a little bit too bullish for 2023. Unfortunately, no, not fortunately. On the flip side, I was a little bit bullish about the NASDAQ as well, up 12%, but I wasn't bullish enough. NASDAQ up 53% so far for the year. And again, possibly it might be a little bit more than that, might be a little bit low, but the NASDAQ had an absolutely unbelievable year. Another thing I was completely wrong on was Bitcoin. I said Bitcoin would keep on falling. At the end of last year, the Bitcoin was around about 16,500, and I thought it would continue to fall. It wasn't a downtrend, so I thought it would actually fall below 10,000. It did not. In fact, the low in Bitcoin for the year was on January the 1st, 2023. Yes, the low was on the first day of the calendar year, and that low was 16,496. As I speak, because Bitcoin is continually trading, it is at 43,453, up 163%. And I have put some money into Bitcoin at significantly lower prices than 43,453. So I'm not quite double, but I'm feeling good about my Bitcoin investment. It was just a technical trade. Gold. I was pretty bullish on gold. I thought it would break out this year. So it needs to get above about, was it 2060 or 2080 to break out? I thought it would finish at 2,325. Right now it's at 2,052.8. So based off a lot of these, I have been a little bit too bullish on most of them, and not bullish enough on one of the most important indices, and that's the NASDAQ. And the reason I say it's one of the most important indices is because it does feature some of the biggest companies in the world, some of the biggest growing companies in the world at that. Now on to individual companies. And again, completely wrong on some of these. I thought CBA would be at $81.51. On the last trading day, it was $110.50. CSL, fairly close here. I thought it'd be $288.52. It's $282.15. I'll finish with Tesla last. Completely wrong with core lithium. Lithium prices have fallen. Was it the lithium spodumene or spodumene concentrate has fallen 80% in the year, 60% since October. And that's one of the reasons why core lithium share price is not $3.35. It's 26 cents. So I'm very thankful that I am not a lithium investor right now. And if I was a lithium investor, why would I be in lithium? Because, well, yeah, price of lithium has dropped like a rock. Share prices of most lithium companies have dropped like a rock. So I'm happy I have not been bullish on lithium throughout the year, because I would have lost a lot of money. A2 milk, I thought I've had a good year. I thought it would be up above $10, $10.41, down to $4.28. And I'm no longer A2 milk shareholder. But you do know what company I am a shareholder? Tesla. I thought Tesla would be $105. I'm completely wrong with that. $252.54. I'm not complaining that I'm wrong on this one, because I'm not a shareholder of Tesla. Now, initially, I bought into Tesla as a trade because it broke out. Share price has kept on rising. And I have been umming and ahhing about whether I should take profits on Tesla. As I do more research on Tesla, I realize my nose is really itchy. As I do more research on Tesla, there is scenarios where I am actually bullish on the company. There's also other scenarios where I'm actually a little bit bearish. But at this point in time, the very simple fact that Tesla is a cult stock, there are some people just invested in Tesla just because of Elon Musk, that sort of thing. And I think that alone will help prop up the share price for Tesla. Next thing I'm going to look at is the biggest company. Well, this is a stupid prediction because at the end of last year, the biggest company was Apple, and I said the biggest company was going to be Apple. And I actually did not research this because I'm pretty sure the biggest company in the world is still Apple. Pretty sure about that. A company that I've been thinking about, well, this company is looking really, really cheap, fairly cheap, and that is Alibaba. I said Alibaba would be up 17%. And in fact, I actually haven't had a look at this one. Alibaba is not up, was it 17%? It is actually down 14.5%. Yes, 14.5%. So a little bit wrong with Alibaba. In fact, Alibaba has been down 3 years in a row. It's gone from a share price of about $310 down to $75.28. I had a look at this company in terms of valuation. Price earnings ratio of 10.6, dividend yield of 1.3%. Now, last year was the first year where 2022 was the first year that revenue went backwards after a really good growth in the company. So who knows? There is a potential that Alibaba is a possible value play. Just a possibility, I suppose, at this point in time. Best sectors, healthcare. Wrong on that one. Best sector, and this is on the ASX. Probably should mention that. To get this information, I went to Market Index, and they do have a list of all the sectors on the ASX and the performance of each sector over the past year. And by far, well, maybe not by far, but the best sector was Infotech, up 25%, while healthcare was actually down, I think it was 0.7%. So Infotech, the best performing sector on the ASX, up 25%. Something else I thought would be a little bit more active was in the IPO scene. I thought there'll be 126 IPOs on the ASX. I did a quick count of the IPOs during the year, and I did get between 33 and 35. The reason there is a range there is simply because there's a few companies that didn't quite list on the ASX, like Newmont. The reason they're now on the ASX is because they bought a company. So Newmont bought, what is it? Newcrest, and now they're now on the ASX as a listed. There's another company as well. So very quiet when it comes to the IPO, particularly when you compare it to 2020 or 2021. There was 2021 where we had about 250 IPOs. Now on to some commodities. Not sure why I didn't look at this when we were looking at gold. So the order of these is quite weird. So I thought iron ore would be $125 a ton. So a lot of analysis at the end of last year thought iron ore was going to be significantly lower than what I thought because of weakness in China. And I was not bullish enough because iron ore is $135.35. And this is the reason why Fortescue is at an all-time high, why BHP is on a beautiful run, Rio Tinto is on a run, Mount Gibson is looking nice. But other mining or iron ore mining companies like Fenix have an increase. And I think there is a chance that a company like Fenix might go on a significant run soon as the money has piled into Fortescue, BHP, and what's the other one? Rio Tinto. And as people look at those companies, evaluation of those companies, they say, well, these companies are at least fair value, if not overvalued. What else is out there in the iron ore space? And they'll get to Mount Gibson, get to Fenix, and start buying those companies. That's my theory right now, if iron ore prices stay where they are at the moment. And then petrol. Well, it's pretty silly giving a price here because we all know petrol at the pump changes. In fact, there's a range because of the petrol cycle, whatever it's called. Right now, the petrol price just up the road from me is at about $1.75, unless they've changed the price, which would be ridiculous. I'm going to actually look at it right now. I'm going to look at it. Go to Petrol Spy. There's a few sites you can look at. I have an app as well. Petrol Spy. We'll put in my zip code. That'd be pretty Yep, no, it's $176. $1.76.9 around where I live. And that's sort of at the bottom of the cycle. Top of the cycle is around about $226.09, which is sort of ridiculous because oil prices are a fair bit down, fairly low right now, which means if oil price is going to run, we're going to see pretty high prices. And that could fuel the run to electric vehicles. So I was a little bit wrong with petrol at the pump, even if I was being a little bit what's the word? No, even if this was the sort of the low in the cycle, $1.56, it's not close to the low, about 20 cents off. Now the big one, the big one. So at the end of last year, 100% of economists in America said the United States would go into recession, and I took the other side. Because one of the reasons was because the yield curve had inverted, which was a predictor of a recession. And there was other indicators why the United States might go into recession, rising interest rates, that sort of thing. And I was thinking at the time, maybe not because of the labor market. Can't remember what I exactly said, but one of the reasons why I thought maybe the United States would not go into recession is because the labor market would remain strong because these are different times. The problem we are having right now, particularly in Western countries, is we don't have enough people to or for the jobs out there. So we need a significant decrease in the jobs or a significant increase in immigration to maintain the labor market where it is. And we've got a very healthy, robust labor market. And that's why I thought the United States would not go into recession. In fact, United States economy is quite strong right now, which is weird because Donald Trump is favored to win the election. Yet Joe Biden and that government is actually doing a fairly good job with the American economy. And Donald Trump, isn't he older than Joe Biden? So you can't say, well, Joe Biden is too old. I know, that's another, maybe I can do that. Prediction, or maybe I'll do a prediction of the US presidency in my 2024 predictions. Watch this space. Well, human redundancy. So I've already talked about that. So human redundancy just means we are getting towards that point where humans will become redundant. We're getting to that singularity where AI will be able to solve all problems, where AI, robotics, that sort of thing is just better than humans. I've mentioned this, maybe not in my videos, but I did say this to some colleagues at work, that we will come to the time where there is not one single job that we do that AI or robots or whatever won't be able to do. Someone did mention to me, what about a marriage counselor? I said, no, even a marriage counselor are going to be biased. We've got the human element, and we have to get rid of that human element in that sort of thing. And someone said, politician. And I went, well, politicians should be the first thing that is automated by AI, because humans, well, particularly politicians, and this is me, again, being cynical, politicians tend to be, how do I say this, morally and ethically corrupt. That's just my opinion. Some politicians go into politics thinking they can change the world, and I think the first few years in politics ruins them, and I don't think any politician right now is in politics for the country as a whole. They're in it for themselves. They want to make their lives better, that sort of thing, themselves. So politicians are the first thing that should be automated, in my opinion, because if we make it right and let AI make decisions for us, I think we could be better off. That's just me. I do have a problem with all this literature out there, movies, on that sort of literature that says that AI is evil, that sort of thing. We even have committees set up because they're concerned that we are going too far with AI. And I think AI is our future. I think to make our lives better, we have to rely more and more on AI, because humans are fallible. We make mistakes. And the way to fix that, and even though AI can make mistakes because it is created by humans, eventually we'll overcome that. And I don't believe that AI will harm us at all. That's just movies being really cynical, that sort of thing. Again, I'm being the anti-cynical when it comes to AI. And this goes back to, we believe the potential of aliens coming to Earth and wanting to kill us all. That's because humans are very warlike. Just think of our nearest neighbors, closest neighbors or closest cousins. Chimpanzees are very violent, extremely violent. Humans are extremely violent, and we think just because we are like that, other alien species are like that. And just because we're like that, AI is going to be like that. It's completely wrong. I think we are looking at the flaws of humanity, and we are putting those flaws into AI and other alien species and thinking they're going to harm us. And I think that's wrong. And that's why I think AI eventually will solve a lot of the problems that we can't solve ourselves. And one of those problems is global warming. So human redundancy, I think it's coming. The singularity in what's it called? Singularity in something. Singularity in technology is coming. It's close to coming. I wouldn't be surprised within 5 years it's going to be here. Automation is really important, again, because human redundancy, this is sort of another angle. We are not having children anymore. And the whole reason we have children is to keep the species going. That's the reason animals have children, to keep their genes going. And right now, there's 8 billion people on the planet. We don't need to have children to keep the species going. And that's one of the reasons why I think a lot of people just decide not to have kids. Why? We don't need more kids, more people in the world. So automation is going to be very important because we aren't having kids, and there's not enough people, young people, coming through the ranks. We're at the point in history where in the United States, the first time ever where people under the age of 18 is now falling. Again, we are not having kids. We are looking at the birth rates in places like Mexico and Iran. Birth rates there have gone from 6 about 20, 30 years ago to below 2.1. Then look at birth rates in South Korea, Japan, even China, it's falling. Now, they're saying in China it's falling because of COVID-19, but even before COVID-19, it was falling. Even Australia, all Western countries, it's falling. It's only really at this point in time, Africa. And then eventually, as women become more educated in those third world countries, birth rates will fall there as well. So that's why automation is really important. And in my opinion, that's why also AI is very important as well. And I'm very excited about AI, the advancements in AI, because the achievements humanity can, well, what we can achieve with AI is going to be significant. And I'm talking about space exploration and that sort of thing. Not only space exploration, I'm also talking about what we can do with medicine, aging, cancer, that sort of thing. And there's another reason why so much money is being put into aging. And this is maybe a little bit cynical, and why governments want to put a lot of money into aging. It's because of the lack of growth, birth rates. The governments want people to work longer, so they're going to raise the retirement age to keep people in the workforce for longer periods of time to solve these problems. So don't be surprised to see retirement ages being lifted, and to combat that, they're going to have put a lot of money into aging. I won't say reverse aging, that sort of thing, but that is on the cards within the next 5 or so years. It's already here. I told a college at work, they are working on this. He didn't believe me. And a few days later, he came back to me and said, wow, I can't believe how much money is being put into anti-aging or just aging. Anyway, spent a little bit too much time on watch this space. Now we get into sporting predictions, and I just decided to choose the sports teams that I wanted to win. So completely wrong here. So Parramatta Eels, 37 years without a premiership, and maybe 2024 will be their year. But Panthers have won 3 years in a row. Richmond, who won? Collingwood, I think. Collingwood beat Brisbane in the AFL Grand Final. And then we get to the Super Bowl. Maybe the Buffalo Bills will have a good year in 2024. There's a really good chance now they'll be in the playoffs. They haven't performed all that well this year, but if they do make the playoffs, they could be a sneaky Super Bowl winner. Because if they do play well, they are or can be one of the best teams. But the Super Bowl champion for 2023, who was it? The Chiefs. I think Chiefs less likely to win. I'll be surprised if it's not 49ers. I don't think the Cowboys will win this year or next year. So really surprised if the 49ers don't win. I think they have potential to be the best team. Anyway, NBA, Boston Celtics are the best team this year, looks like. They're probably one of the best teams last year, but it was the Denver Nuggets. I believe it was their first NBA championship. And to be fair with you, I really like when a team wins a championship for the first time. And that happened not only in NBA, it also happened in NHL and also the NBL, or the Major League Baseball. Boston Bruins had by far the best year, but playoffs are a different season. They can be a significantly different season. And that is definitely true in the NHL. We see this year after year that the best team in the regular season more than likely won't win the Stanley Cup. And the team that won the Stanley Cup was the Vegas Golden Knights, team that hasn't been in the league all that long. I believe it might be the first championship they've won. So my team here is the Buffalo Sabres, and because they're so bad, I just don't pick them at all. And I thought New York Mets might do pretty good, but Texas Rangers, another team that won the World Series. Of course, it's called the World Series because Americans tend to be a little bit up themselves. I'm an American. I'm half American, half Australian, so I can say that sort of thing. But the Texas Rangers, I'm really happy they run. I typically don't like Texas-based teams, but I'm fairly happy Texas Rangers won because it was their first World Series. And a few years ago, maybe about 10 years ago, they lost the World Series 2 times in a row. And one of those times they should have won, but something happened. I think it was the manager made some bad decisions or something like that, and they did not win. So happy that the Texas Rangers won. I'm very happy I got this one wrong. I thought it was almost a near certainty that India would win the Cricket World Cup, but it was Australia, yes, and always very happy, extremely happy when Australia in cricket beats India and or England. I don't care if any other team wins apart from India and or England. I'd love it to see if New Zealand won, Sri Lanka winning, Bangladesh winning, Pakistan, even South Africa, but I just don't want India or England to win. And one of the reasons behind that is because England is by far our biggest rival in cricket, and India is just so good at cricket. And typically, I don't want to see the best team winning, particularly if it's the best team over a period of time. For instance, Panthers won 3 years in a row. No way I want them to win in 2024. 0 reasons. Women's World Cup. I just guessed this, and I just guessed it based off who typically wins this. And United States typically does fairly well, and they didn't do really well this year, did they? It was Spain who won. Spain. I would never pick Spain. I don't really follow women's soccer all that closely. All I know is the United States does fairly well, and Spain. And a lot of the best teams in men's soccer tend to not be the best teams in women's soccer, and vice versa as well. Another competition I didn't follow that closely, that's the Rugby World Cup. I just picked France because it was based in France, and I thought the home team had the best chance to win. But it was South Africa who won. Congratulations to South Africa. Now we go on to entertainment. The biggest film of the year, I just guessed Fast 10, a franchise I have completely given up on. Way too many movies in this franchise. I still remember watching the first one in 2001. It was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where I watched it. I didn't mind the first one, but as we go through each film in this series, it just gets worse and worse. I did watch one of the previous ones, but when they went into space in the car, I just gave up. I just thought it was ridiculous. But Fast 10 was not the biggest film of the year. By box office, it came in at number 5. In fact, Oppenheimer beat this movie, which I'm very excited to hear. But the biggest film by box office was Barbie. I actually did watch Barbie, and I think it's completely overrated. I think I did not find anything attractive about Barbie at all. And finally, the biggest new TV show. I was fairly confident with this one, The Last of Us. And to be honest with you, I can't think of another new TV show that was as big as The Last of Us. Anyway, so that's all I got. I just heard one of my dogs squeal. So I'm going to finish this fairly quickly. Mandalorian, not sure why that's here. So anyway, those are my 23 predictions for 2023. Most of them were crappy. But again, these are predictions about the future. And typically, usually predictions about the future are going to be wrong. Even if they're right, the timing could be completely wrong. So that's all I'm going to talk about in this video. Have a good day. Have a good Boxing Day. And, well, I'm recording this day on Boxing Day, but I'll be releasing it on the, was it 28th or something? So anyway, so have a good New Year's, that sort of thing. And don't forget, I am not a financial advisor. If you do need financial advice, make sure you seek out someone who is qualified and can speak to your own needs. Now I'm going to see what happened with the dog. Have a good day. Bye.